Hey there, everybody, and welcome back. For those of you that are looking to create a banner ad of some kind across the top of your Appgyver application, stay tuned. I'm going to be walking through the basics of that in this video. Now, one thing I do want to make sure that everyone is aware of, because I get a ton of questions about AdMob integration or integration with any other advertising and revenue generating services, this is not a way to generate ad revenue by displaying banner ads of some kind. What this does do is it gives you two options. For those of you that are looking to make money or generate revenue through this banner ad, you can add in a URL that takes you to a website. And when users are directed to that website, if it's a unique URL, for example, maybe one to your YouTube channel where you have ads, or maybe it's to an online store. Sometimes you can partner with different websites and they could say, all right, here's your unique URL, directing users to that. We'll give you maybe a percentage of the revenue if they purchase a product. So this is kind of a workaround, but it's not AdMob integration. At the time of filming this video, what I've read on Appgyver's forums is there's no technical limitations, but I haven't found anyone who's been able to do that. Again, at least at the time of filming this video. The other option for this banner ad is to advertise new features. Maybe you want to show your users, hey, check out this new page we added, or check out this website, or one other thing to consider is maybe you want to do a little banner for different holidays. So for example, I'm a Christian, I celebrate Christmas. Maybe I want to say Merry Christmas to all of my users. You could put that little banner up top and it gives you something to just basically say, hey, Merry Christmas. There's a little X button, they can close it, and then your app just looks normal again. Now, one quick thing to note when you're doing any kind of advertising for banner ads, things of that nature, whether you're sending people to different websites, whether you're displaying new images, things of that nature, put careful thought and consideration into whatever you're displaying in your application, both in the app and in the banner ad. Make sure that you're following any and all rules, regulations, laws, guidelines, etc. So I'm not responsible for how you use this information. Make sure that you're only displaying what you should to people you should be displaying. So again, follow any and all rules, regulations, because this is the kind of advertising, it gives you a ton of options, but it's really, really easy just to start throwing different links in there. And that could be the case that you need to tell people, hey, I make money off of this link, or I'm affiliated with this. So make sure once more that you're just following all rules, regulations, laws, guidelines, etc., both for the app, for the app stores, for the users you're advertising to. Just make sure you're doing the right thing. All right, so let's keep going. So let's just go ahead and jump straight in because there's a lot of different options and I just want you to be creative with it. So first thing we're going to do is on your YouTube, scroll down just a bit, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, lets me know that you like the content, and let's just go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do is we have a couple of options in this section over here for all of the components. I'm going to make a very, very basic banner. So it may look not super appealing, but just to show you the idea behind it. So I'm dragging over a row. The reason I'm using this is I'm going to have an X button on the left where users can click that to close out. And then on the right, I'm going to have some text, maybe an image. You can really choose based on whatever you think or whatever you need. Now, a couple of things here. If you click on your page layout and go over to style and change the padding, you can change this to give more or less padding between the top of the screen. As we're creating this banner ad, make sure you consider the different device types that this ad is going to be displayed on, especially if you're going with like pixel defaults, because you're going to have different resolutions, so you may want to test how it's going to look on different devices. I'm just going to start out with this for now. So first things first, we need to add our little X button to the left. So I'm going to drag an image over and drop it in. Now, this is obviously way too big. So we're going to change a couple of things. First, we're going to select the image, go over to layout, and we are going to change the size. So I'm deciding, you know what, I think 25 pixels by 25 pixels is ideal. But now what we need is an actual image. So I went over to unsplash.com. It's a great resource for free images that basically don't have serious copyright restrictions on them. So you can typically on Unsplash, when you're going through, you can see free to use under the Unsplash license, and you can see what that license allows you to do. But if you get the chance, give a shout out to whoever the people are that are actually uploading those images. So I'm right-clicking this image and I'm copying the image address. Make sure when you're sharing images that you're following copyright rules, local rules, regulations, things of that nature. Now I'm going to go back over to this app, and I'm just going to paste this image in here. Now, it's not the most appealing looking image for an X button, and that's not really what the image is for, but again, I'm just going to throw something in there. And then in this cell, we're going to add in some text, and we're going to say, let's just say, check out the newest page here. And we'll just put a couple exclamation points instead. So obviously this doesn't really look like a banner ad. It doesn't look super attractive. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make it look more like an actual banner. So we have row, well, just the whole row basically. And we're going to click on Style tab and we're going to click Edit. Now I want to change the background color and make it look more kind of like a banner. So something just that makes it look a little different from the rest of the page. Now, this is not an ideal banner because it's not really attractive. It just looks like a random rectangle, but I'm just going to keep it as it is for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the image because when you click this X, you expect the banner to disappear. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the component market, go to front-end logic, and you're going to type in hide. And you're going to click on hide component, and there should be an install button. Just click that. It usually takes a second or two. I've already installed it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on our image. We'll click Show Logic. Now, a couple of things here. This image and this text are static. I'm going to walk you through how to make them dynamic in a little bit, meaning you can change them. But for now, we're going to cover basic functionality. So we're going to go over to Installed. So we've clicked the image, clicked Show Logic, and then we're going to bring over hide component, and we're going to connect it. So when this component is tapped, it's going to hide component. And then you can select the component over here and decide what you want to hide. I'm just going to click row 5. We're going to hide this whole banner. And then I'm going to click on the logic for this text as well, because I want to take the user to the new page. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to core and we'll drag over open page. And then we will select whatever this new page is and click Save. So now it's time to test this logic and make sure everything's working. So we're going to go to Open App Preview Portal, and then we're going to open up the Productivity app. Now I'll put a link in the description to where I actually made this app, but you'll see we have the banner ad right here. So if we select it, we've been taken to the new page within the application. But if we go back, and let's just say, you know what, I get it, you have a new page, I'm the user, I don't want to read it again. If I click the X button, that banner ad has now disappeared. So I'm going to open this as kind of like a similar, just a regular old application, and I'll refresh the page. Now, this is what I mean. This is a different app size, so obviously everything's kind of squished in here. But the general idea here is I'm just going to click check out the newest page just to see how it works. And now I'm going to click on the X button. So it looks like everything's working very, very well. But the downside to this particular thing that we've done here with this ad is the ad's not changing. So basically, this banner ad is kind of stuck like this. And in order to change this text, for example, you would have to release a new version of the app with the text having been changed. Additionally, this is going to load up every time the user goes to this page. So I don't really have any short options or alternatives for you to be able to make sure that this is always not visible. There's probably a way to store a data variable of some kind. So the general idea that I think would be better for you, because I don't really know how to set up a data variable to say, you know what, the user closed this once, always keep it closed. The ideal way to use this banner would be to store the values and then hide them after a given period of time. So if you only want to advertise for let's just say 24 hours. We'll store this as a data variable, store the information there, and then that's all there is to it. So we're going to cover a couple of options here. So first things first, we're going to go over to Firebase. If you want to learn how to use Firebase, check out the links in the description to a couple of resources and check out my channel for more videos. But we're just going to go to Firebase and we're in the Firestore database and we're going to start collection and we're just going to call this sample. And then for simplicity, we'll just call it sample again. And then we're going to have two fields. We're going to call it field 1 and field 2. Field 1 is going to be for the X button on the left, and field 2 is going to be for whatever content is on the right. So we're going to copy the image address again from Unsplash, and we'll paste it in here. And then here we will put check this out. Now, one thing you may want to consider is maybe having a third field just to be safe, and you could put in a random website here. So we could put in www.google.com. And this would be the value if you want to direct users to a new website. This would be where it would take them. So now we'll click Save. And you'll see we now have our collection. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to Appgyver now, and we're going to go to Data, and we're going to add a data resource. And we will go to REST API, and we'll call this banner ad. Short description, I'll just type in some letters. Now I will paste this link in the description as well, but the idea is it's just my shortcut of how to go ahead and get the resource URL. So the first half is everything up to v1. When we go down to get, we'll paste the remainder. So this is the name of the project. So when you're putting in your URL, if you're in Firebase, you'll see next to the text project, in between these two slashes is the project name. And then you'll know your collection or your record is right here, or it could be right here. It just depends on what your URL looks like. So I know that I called mine sample, so everything looks correct here. In the resource key path, we're going to put documents. We're going to go to run a test. And you'll see this has basically given us a way to set a schema from the response, which essentially just says, here's field 1, here's the value, here's field 2, here's the value. So it's the way that the app can kind of digest this. So we'll set schema from response, and we will click Save. Now in Appgyver, if you want to use the data variable in the page, you have to click the slider, go to Data Variables, Add Data Variable, and then you need to find your whatever the data variable you just made is. You'll see it'll add the number 1 behind it. Don't worry about that. That's not a problem. So now we have the chance to pull in that information on this page. So we want to change this image here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Source, and then we can go to Data and Variables, Data Variable, and here are the options we can choose, but you'll see it's showing incompatible. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the formula, and we're going to do a little bit of a workaround. So we're going to delete this text, and we'll go to Data Variable. And now we need to figure out which one has the URL. It's the first one. So we're going to select that, and you can figure out which one has the information as you're going through here. You should be able to see, okay, we see a couple of different ones. So there's the ID. You see we have first to do, so there's tons of data variables I've already added. So you need to find your banner ad. So field 1, then we have field 1 string value. So this is the one that has the URL. So we'll double click here, and then we'll click Save. And then right here, we are going to add in the text. A couple of things to consider is, if this is pulling from a data variable, you may want to introduce some kind of rate limiting. So you can check out my channel for the rate limiting video. I'll put it in the description as well. But when you go to the data variable, I'm just going to cover the basics. The video that I'll post will have more details on it. But the general idea here is, if you're on your data variable, so we're going to go to the variable slider. If you're under data variables and you're under banner ad, if you show the logic, so there's a delay right here. You can adjust this time, because if it's only 5,000 milliseconds, if someone goes to the page, they're going to be hitting that API pretty regularly, essentially by just looking at that image. And since Firebase and many other databases are a pay-as-you-go model, it can get pretty expensive, even just for a few users that leave the page open for extended periods. It's constantly hitting that API. The tricky part is if you don't hit the API at all, if you make changes, they're not going to reflect in the app immediately. So you need to figure out what usage is going to work best for you. And then right here, we're just going to go ahead and move a little quicker now. So we want this text. We're going to click on content. We're going to go to formula. And we are going to do the same thing. We're going to go to data variables. And let's go down to banner ad. And you'll see we're going to go to 2. So we have the string value for 2. We'll click save and save. So now the banner ad is from outside of the application. So we can control these variables separately. And if you want, so right now, what's going to happen here is the navigation opens the new page in the app. So if you want to change that, you could click on this, and you have tons of options here. So on the component tab, this is where you're going to control what essentially you want to happen. So one thing that we can do is we can go to add in open web browser and click install. And we can drag this over, and you'll see that there's media here, and we have URL to open. So we could click here and bind the formula to our data variable for banner ad string value, which is www.google.com. And you have to just remove those double quotes and click save. So I'm going to walk you through what this looks like now, because effectively we've created our first banner ad. So we're going to click on launch, open app preview portal, and we're going to look at this from scratch. So when we click productivity, you'll see we have this page here. When we click check this out, google.com opens. So the ideal functionality here is maybe I want to change google.com to YouTube, and I want to change the text of this banner. And then maybe I want to change the image. So we're going to do all of that right now. So back on Unsplashed, we're going to close this, try to figure out, because I just typed in the letter X here. So let's see if maybe we can find from a photographer whose name we like. Scroll around, and you may not even find the ideal image. So let's see. So there's a couple of different options. I'm trying to find what would be ideal, but what we could do is we could even type in close button. And these are the iStock images, which I believe you have to pay for. So we'll scroll through and see if we can find anything that may be close to usable for this purpose. And since it doesn't look like I'm going to find anything, we'll just pick something that has an X in it. So this has an X from a keyboard. That's close enough. So we'll click copy image address. All right. So now we have our web page here. So you'll see we have the actual Appgyver application. So what we're going to do is we are now going to toss in a new link, and we're going to change this entire banner. So I'm going to push this off to the side and then have this loaded here so that you can see how this works in real time. So we're going to go here and we're going to edit the image first. So I'll paste in the new image, and then you'll see over here that should change in a second, and now it's changed. So that's an update in real time for the users, or close to real time. Next, we're going to go here, and instead of check this out, we'll say from our, you could say from our sponsors. YouTube doesn't sponsor me, so we'll just put go to YouTube, and we'll click update. And then the link will change to www.youtube.com and update. And now everything's changed here. So when you select this, it will still showing up as Google. So this time it's taking us to YouTube. So you'll see the new link works. And if the user decides to click out and close it, they click there, and the banner has now disappeared. So that is one option. The next option that you could consider is, again, if you decided maybe I want to have the ad effectively take me to really anything that I'm interested in. So it could be different websites. You have tons of different options here. So what we could do is we could do what we were doing earlier, and we could add in a separate image. So for example, I could put Merry Christmas here and have an image off to the side. And that could be stored in our Firebase database. But the idea here is you can make multiple different fields here and then store and retrieve and display whatever you want in your application. And you're not limited to using rows. Maybe you want to use an icon with a list, or maybe you want to use a card. The idea here is you have multiple options and choices. And then if you decided, okay, you know what, I don't want this to be displayed anymore, we'll test this theory real quick. So I'm going to change all of these to nothing. Now, because the banner was blue, it'll probably still be there, but let's refresh the page and see what happens. So you still have that blue bar, but everything's gone. So at least it's not taking you to a link when you select it, and clicking here will still make it disappear. So if we chose a different color, it would blend in, and then that would effectively be gone. Now, I don't know of a way off the top of my head to make this essentially just gone by using a variable. So for example, there may be a way to do a formula and store, right now it's true, meaning it's visible. There may be a way to store the text false externally, and then it's no longer visible. I'm not quite sure if that's the case, so the general idea here is at the very least, this banner is visible for all users all the time. You can delete the content, choose a background that blends in with the app, and then it'll just be displayed whenever it needs to. So that is just one option to consider. So again, I hope you all liked the video. Hope this covered a couple of different options for you. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment box below, and I'll see you all in the next video.